What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for the week of December 6th through December 12th of 2021. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. I appreciate you all so much. I do hope that you had a great weekend. I hope you're excited for this week. I hope you're doing well. Definitely sending you all my best. Last week I called December a December we will forever remember. And I think that holds true, but as I get more into the energy and as I start to get into this, sort of channeled forecast, it's a deceptive December. And this deception, we've already been living through a lot of deception, but you're starting to see more and more and more of it. More propaganda is right around the corner here. And we have to be able to navigate what our truth is and really, be able to investigate things and get down to the deeper meaning within our own souls, within our own sort of environments and the stuff that's more personal to you and really hash these things out. While also, even just in our personal lives here, like feeling like, oh my gosh. I mean, as we start this sort of quest out on this new journey that, I think we can be very excited for. I think there's a lot that it has to offer. I do think it's like destiny and dharma written all over it for so many souls. But at the same time, just dealing with Mercury out of bounds in Sagittarius, in its detriment, square Neptune, it is so confusing. And we can look like that there's just this vast, canvas or all these different trails on this adventure or roads, if you will, on this journey. And that can seem like overwhelming to our minds. We can be like overstimulated or just in a place of like just pure confusion. I feel like the collective's in a very vulnerable spot coming into this week. Just in terms of even Saturn and Uranus getting closer in their square, and with Mars and Helio, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, making oppositions with Uranus from Scorpio, and then T square to Saturn. Woo! This week is definitely gonna shake things up and turn the tables, and it can leave people mentally very, very, confused or in very unstable places within themselves. And then, adding Mercury, another personal planet, of course, our relationship to ourselves, our values, relationships to other people as well. Just going through such a deep dive and having to go to a very bottom line, vulnerable place about what is this foundation that we want to build? What is the plan? What's the plan for this journey? I don't think we figure it all out this week. We're going to finish off the week with Sun square Neptune, and even with Mars squaring Jupiter. Like, this is just not, I would say this isn't a week that you really just want to make impulsive decisions that aren't based around like cold hard fact in your life. Like, if they're just based around a belief or the vision and they haven't showed up with something that's kind of tangible, be a little, question things, get to the bottom, make sure that it holds value from a deep sense within you. Very helpful before just like, I'm gonna just this road, I know this is the road. Yeah, right. I'm sorry, nobody knows exactly what the perfect path is right now or exactly where the quest is going. And that's where I want to help people, is if you're feeling confused or you're feeling uncertain or you feel like, oh gosh, there's this journey out there for me, but geez, look at this, all this abundance as we're in Sag season of different avenues and different ways that I can explore my terrain and my experience and my life and my own beliefs even. It's a lot, but we don't want to get confused. I think we really want to get into the spiritual nature of what it is that we want to, for one, believe in, if what that means in our environments, and really have a lot of compassion for ourselves and even have compassion for other people in our lives. But, I'll be honest, with Pluto and Venus conjunct this week, which of course they're going to be really tight the whole month of December, as Venus is getting very slow here and going to retrograde on the 19th, which won't be this week. And this is the final week of, Mars in Scorpio, Mercury in Sagittarius. So, we're going to be getting to very edgy energy towards the end of the week. So it starts off confusing. wanting to have this great plan, this great, map drawn out for this abundant, exuberant quest. And you know what? It's just like one thing at a time. And I think that's the best advice I can give people is one thing at a time. Don't just jump into anything right now that doesn't have like the best feeling behind it. Like, this is where you can really feel into things spiritually and get very good answers and get very good confirmation. But if you're not going there and you're just doing it for your ego, or just doing it for some outer source or outer presence, or what you're being told to do, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be honest, it's sketchy. And especially coming into next week with Mars South Node. Woo, Mars South Node is not a fun transit. That's more of a losing energy transit, especially within our identifications and our drive and being so like gung-ho with a Mars and Sag, like, let's go on the adventure. Let's go see it all. Like, we're ready. But it's with the South Node, so we can be thinking that the adventure is what we might want to identify it with, when really that's going backwards and that's going, the wrong direction, when we're really ultimately trying to go forward and build for that and work towards that and see what, that new belief could be. And then also it's in opposition, as we even get to the end of this week, it's going to come to 29 Scorpio by Sunday, and we see the Ingress on the 13th. So, we kind of want to go back into April in our lives, when Mars was with the North Node in Gemini, and we were at this place, like, that's the winter's transit. There were big decisions about what your truth was and about the truth in life that you wanted to identify with, and the information that made the most sense, and how you could do quick things to, they were really like decisions that you had to act quick on with that Mars and Gemini in April. And now we're coming back to that opposition with Mars in the North Node. So we're at this place even now where there's a lot of confusion. We can want to just jump into old stories because maybe our ego sees a green light, but is that green light a mirage? With all the Neptunian energy, by the time we start to see that, we're going to see Sun Square Neptune. There's so much illusion that's projected in the world right now, and it could look good, maybe. Like, that's the crazy part, is the deception could actually look good. It might not even look bad. It might look like something that gets people really hopeful, really like, oh, I can go back to doing this. But like I said, it comes back to April and really this whole year of like these decisions that you've had to make for yourself. This is where, if you can hold true to what your independent truth was, you can see a lot of benefit. There's like those choices that were made this year for yourself that only you could make, and they involved yourself, your body, your environment, like the people in your life, the communication, all of those things. If you were true to yourself and making those decisions, I think that there's like really beneficial times coming as we come into next year. But gosh, I gotta be honest, like, if you didn't make the right sort of decision for your truth and you jumped into another truth that wasn't yours, or another belief, oh man, talk about feeling like you're in another dimension and it's not the dimension that you want to be in. I get some of that energy this week. And then, like, kind of feeling insecure about ourselves or insecure financially. Like, we definitely have to look at financials and like pay attention to that aspect of our realities right now, because Venus conjunct Pluto, like, we can go through some really weird, just in our own personal lives, financial situations. And it can be, that can be scary in itself. And we have to kind of like be willing to compassionately let whatever it was go. I mean, honestly, this could bring up job stuff, career stuff with Capricorn. We have to be willing to have faith with Sagittarius season that something better is going to rebirth from what did die away. So, I mean, this can happen especially with a Venus retrograde, like relationships, people in our lives, they could disappear. Maybe not disappear, but there can have to be like boundaries drawn because you're not getting the deeper essence of the relationship met in whatever that is for you. And again, having compassion like for other people, even if paths and journeys and quests are taking different routes. I think we can see even more sort of splitting energy this week of like people maybe you thought were definitely going on the same path, definitely going down the same road to the journey that you wanted to go on, like splintering off and or forking off onto another path on the journey. And part of this week seems like being prepared, if you will, that like that's a possibility, and that it's okay, and that it's like we have to be okay with letting go of things. We have to be okay with letting certain aspects leave in our life so that something amazing can come from that. Because I do think that ultimately a lot of this is like the right people, the right relationships, the right jobs for your destiny of Capricorn here, are getting this like last bit of karma resolution, because Pluto finishing up in Capricorn it's really dispersing and diminishing, and we're finishing a lot of collective karma, and that goes to our individual selves because Capricorn, Saturn, it is karma. So we have to be, and we're almost done. Couple more years. It's a long transit. Pluto came into Capricorn in 2008. So, since 2008, we have been really cutting through karma. So it can feel like, that's why a lot of everything's been so intense. And of course, that deals with societies and the outer worlds and governments. And a lot of that is a reflection, that outer world, that society that, that we live in. A lot of that is a reflection of our own karma and the only things that we've transmuted in our life. And of course, the more light that you find within and the more comfort you find within, the likelihood that the polarity can show up in some ways. And I know people say like, no, if I just do all this work, I will manifest the outer that I want. And you do, by the people that are close to you. And, you can look around your life and see all the things that you're grateful for that you have manifested. But there's also another level of how complex manifestation is and how complex polarity is, that like that other stuff in the world is actually kind of a byproduct of how awake, a lot of the collective is, because that polarity has to be that much stronger because what's going on within you is that strong. And I think that that's a good way to look at it, and that kind of has been coming through lately. So I wanted to touch on that this week as we are going through a lot of deception, a lot of deceiving times. We're going to see Mercury this week make a sextile over to Jupiter. And I do like that transit. It's our, intuitive mind and our beliefs in a very nice, harmonious aspect with our linear thinking and our environments and our understandings of the journey. So I do think by the end of the week, if you're paying attention and like, it's almost like you want to like, write things down that come to you this week, and instead of just impulsive jumping into things, like pay attention, like write things down, pay attention to what your dreams are, pay attention to what really your intuition's telling you, make a little list. And like Santa, maybe it's December, check the list twice. And then I think as we come into next week and we start to move forward here, like there's going to be better times that you'll see like a payoff of like not just jumping into one thing that showed up first, but paying attention to what, what order, because Capricorn's order too. And our values they're smeared all over the place. I don't think we know exactly what we want yet. And, you can even start to look back now to 2013, 2014, that December into January, February, where Venus did retrograde in Capricorn last. And like, look at what was going on in your life and what that brought up. Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it ended a relationship. Maybe it was jobs. Maybe somebody came into your life, like all sorts of different things. Or maybe just even, your own structure of your value system. These things, like go back and look at that time in your life and see how you can, because of where you are now, use that to your advantage and pay attention so that you can not let it like be so harsh, because it can be kind of harsh. Like Pluto's not all fun and games. especially with, money and values and relationships. Like, these are things we definitely want to hold on to. These are things that we, feel like we need, and we do to an extent, of course. So being very, open, and paying attention to what it was in the past can make a big difference moving forward here. And you might want to even get into that now and see if themes are showing up from that time, so that you can make a better, sort of decision. Because Capricorn, in the end, it's going to make a decision. Like, this is Saturn here. It's, bossing up, dedicating. So we might not fully know what the quest is that we're dedicating to, or the people that are going to be on that quest, or if those people that are in our lives now are going to dedicate to the same path. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Like, this is where we can see great mergers, but we can also see, extreme repulsion. So we have to be aware of those things and not take it too personally. I think that's a good thing this week too, is don't take anything too personally. Whether it's your beliefs getting challenged, whether it's relationships, whether it's what's going on in the world, job, career, so many things. We really have to take responsibility for ourself right now, and everything that does show up in reality for each and every one of us. Like, okay, let's really get down there and say and be like, okay, this is my reality. I am going to choose and do what I want, and for myself, and whatever outside of me is not doing that, so be it. So be it. That can be very helpful too. I will say too, with Pluto transiting Capricorn, which we've been going through since 2008, the polarity of that is Cancer. And in evolutionary astrology, like, we really look at the polarity point of Pluto. So much about this 2008, like, yeah, we've been, rediscovering in a lot of ways what our ultimate, sort of goals are, what the achievements are going to be, these great big plans. We've had to kind of, demolish all of that because of the state that the world's in and how everything's changed over the last few years, especially. But all of that was really to focus you into your own sense of security and emotional maturity. That was so important, and to know that, you're so strong within yourself, and you have so much integrity within yourself, that so be it. The outer world may change, but you found comfort within yourself. And I think I just felt like I should say that, because this is one of those weeks where we can start to have doubts, or we can start to have fears, or we can start to feel lost, or deceived, or let down, or confused. It has all of that in it this week. Like, honestly. And we could put ourselves into some really negative stories, when right now it's like, how about the exciting stories? How about the stuff that looks fun, the stuff that looks enjoyable, really the quest that you want to go on, that's going to bring something beautiful into your life. And it's kind of like, all right, well, the stuff that isn't beautiful, or it's not showing up in a beautiful reflection, like, oh, okay, I can have compassion for what that is, but still, I've worked on my boundaries. I know who I am right now, and I feel a strong pull inwardly to do this, and that is everything. And if you can have that boundary for yourself, you're gonna do so much better this week than a lot of people that don't have that boundary, or that are not, fully secure within themselves. And I don't know if we're ever fully secure. We try our best, but we all have little insecurities that pop up here and there. We're all human. Nobody's perfect. So we want to be compassionate, of course, for ourselves too, I'll talk about, Mars in the helio chart. It'll oppose Uranus this week and make a T-square to Saturn. And of course, Uranus and Saturn are getting very close to their square, which will be on December 24th. So like this, just shattering of, the structure of our reality is there's just so much unpredictability, and there's so much about, what you chose to experiment on, and what you chose to what was the higher route? What was the, big decisions that you had to make in your life to experiment for yourself and to not be experimented on. And Mars is such an activator. So Mars coming through and opposing Uranus from Helio, this is like almost a crescendo this week. So, I'll be honest, with the T square energy and Mars square Saturn from Helio, which it already did in Geo, of course, but when I see big transits in Helio happen after the Geo, I'm like, oh, it's coming probably more around that time, like the one or the other. They kind of flip flop. And David Palmer taught me this one, and it's pretty, he's pretty spot on with it. So paying attention to that Helio chart, like this week has some serious like electricity, especially the T square to Saturn in Aquarius. And that brings me to another thing, is we're talking about Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius too right now in the astrology and frequency. And I cannot stress enough that what has come down to me, or especially over this last week and a half, frequency is, and I think I've talked about this, a couple months, like a month back or so, when I was talking about the Astro World concert a little bit and things after that, but frequency war. Like, I gotta be honest, we are in a straight up frequency war. And I'm loving seeing all the truth, maybe truth, I don't know. I haven't investigated it fully, but it does resonate, so it might be my truth. So take it as you will. But the viruses are not like a thing that's passed through the air from person to person. It is frequency that is passed from person to person. And we're starting to see, I've seen in my own life and even experienced myself, people getting sick but not being around people. So I've kind of seen this firsthand just recently, that it's not so much about being around somebody that has something that you're going to get it. Like that's actually looking to be more and more false. This is more about the electromagnetics of our reality. We are frequency. I'm sure most of you guys are on that same level with me. Like we're frequency through and through. And when our electromagnetic field is getting played with, which it 100% is, that is what's causing whatever these symptoms are going around in the world. So if there was ever a time to be very mindful of your frequency, to be very mindful of your own electromagnetic field, your aura, your Taurus, it's now. And we need to be very, pay attention to that. Whatever that can mean. Again, we are all at a different, every single one of us at a different vibrational level. So I don't even think it's never one size fits all with anything. This is like you and your soul knows what you need to do to stay protected, and you want to do just that. And that's where it's hard, is because now we're at a point where you have to be so in such integrity with your soul and with your own self-worth and your value and your boundaries that you're drawing lines very quick when they don't feel right, or when something's off, and having that very strong bullshit meter so that you can be good. And even though, and that's the thing too, is like we're seeing people who get whatever's going on out there, it affects everybody on such a different level, and that's based on the person's, their own electromagnetic field, their own frequency that they're emitting. Again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. This is just observation. Take it as you will. But with all the Aquarius energy, and with all the Uranus energy, and with Saturn square Uranus and this Mars, oh boy. Oh boy. And the level of deception that Neptune is at here and online in Pisces, squaring the sun and squaring Mercury. Oh my goodness. Like, the level of deception that could be presented because of what's going on with frequency and how that story and that narrative gets played out, just be mindful that it might not be what you think it is. So, I don't know, little tangent there. A little tangent. But I do think it's important, like Mars is such an activator, so we're going to start to see what this Saturn Uranus square is all about, and we've definitely already been seeing it, but it's about to really get intense as we're coming towards the third and final square exact from Geo, and this Mars activating, which it's already happened from Helio too. So we're seeing Uranus at 12 degrees, Saturn at 14 degrees, I believe, and Mars will be right there, 12, 14 this week. I think Mars will come to 16 degrees too from the Helio. So it's getting intense. There's a lot we have to cut away, I think, and boundaries are very important. And it's more about what you know is proper for your frequency, what you know is right for you. That felt important. I don't know where to segue from that, but just getting Mars too, Mars and Mercury, they're going to be 1 degree, both of them, away from ingressing. They both ingress on Monday, December 13th. Mars into Sagittarius to get close to the South Node at 0 degrees of Sag, and then Mercury will come at a detriment and come into Capricorn, and that's going to help us so much. So, we really are like 1 week away from our mind getting into a much more practical place about what the things are that we're trying to line up and piece together in our lives, and to get planned out, and what makes the most sense. And it's going to help us, be a deep thinker, and a little bit more, just naturally Capricorn has a Pisces third house. So even having Mercury come into that, and then the third house would be, of course, Pisces from that Mercury. That is a very deep, very intuitive, but it's planned out with more of an openness to the fate of the matter, the destiny of the matter, what the universe is kind of like trying to help you get in order. And I think that's very important right now too. So yeah, I just think that this week is such an interesting week for, what could possibly show up in the world, what could possibly show up in our own personal lives. And I think that there's so many exciting things, but instead of just taking the first thing that comes, wait for the next one and the next one. And then you might get this like nice list of these doors and these roads and these different places. And then you're going to know intuitively, like what's going to be more tailored to what your soul wants, coming into next week, and how we can really, especially with Mars coming into Sag, like get on the horse and quest out for what that would be and how we can identify with that. Again, it just has to match up with all the Gemini work that we've done with our environment, our personal truth, being able to identify with that truth in a strong way and not get lost into these big beliefs. I will say too, again, travel, it's a solar eclipse that we're still feeling, and that's not going away. That lasts really until the next eclipse, but it especially lasts up until, I would say, the full moon. It's very, very strong, this full moon that we're going to have in Gemini. Is it? It is going to touch in Gemini, yeah. Just barely. I haven't looked, but I'm trying to do the math in my head. I don't know if we might, there's a possibility we might skip Gemini, but I don't think we do. I believe it's at 29 Gemini. It's going to be very strong until then, and even up until the next lunation in Capricorn. So, very fated times. I feel like we're in a fate vacuum right now, and it's trying to do some really positive things for what we're trying to build in our lives. But jumping too quickly this week will leave you probably more confused than you want to be. You got to check our egos big time, because we can just want to, this is the thing, I know it's the thing, I know it's most connected. Is it though? Like, that's a big question we got to ask ourselves. I think we all do in some place in our life, and make sure that we're not just jumping into the wrong story. And I don't know if there's, wrong, probably the wrong choice of words, if you will. Whatever's meant to happen is meant to happen. But I think, if we're going to use our free will, if we have that in this reality, now is such an important time to exercise this free will, and to realize that you wield that power. Like, nobody has to control your free will but you. No outside presence does. And that's where we might be tested the most, is like, are we actually going to, it's almost like God's like, even in Sagittarius and all these squares to Neptune, it's almost like God's just like looking down like, do they know they have free will? I swear I put that in the divine order and the plan. And I'm pretty sure they're down there not exercising their free will. So I don't know. I go back and forth with free will, but I do think, every choice we make for ourselves is that is the free will choice. And there's a road and avenue that was pre-built for whatever decision we made at that moment in time. So it's all fate. It's all destiny in the end. But, in some ways we get to kind of like those books that we would read as kids where you could like kind of like read the book and it's like, well, do you want to go through this door or do you want to go up the staircase to the top of the mansion? You're like, oh, just skip to page 7. Okay. Kind of jump around. It's like that. So there's a predetermined outcome, but we get to kind of choose the path to the predetermined outcome is more along the lines of what I believe. So I think this is a great opportunity to see all the options to your predetermined outcome and see which one really feels the best within your soul. And, Mars is finishing up in Scorpio this week. Like, we want to exercise our courage and our intuitive strengths and figure out, what it is in our life that we do want. It is square Jupiter, though, so it does put a little wrench in the plan as Jupiter disposited the solar eclipse and Sagittarius in the south node, of course. So, we can definitely penetrate into any direction we want right now. It's just making sure that it aligns with the frequency and the life path that you want to be on right now, and not just something surface level. Venus with Pluto, I mean, that's kind of destroying some of these surface physical illusions around a lot of aspects of our life. And maybe it's a story that like you have to have a certain job to have a certain lifestyle. Maybe it's you have to be in this relationship to have this sort of lifestyle or to have, these things in life. Like, these are areas that are, they could definitely come up for question now. So if they start to show up in your life, just, again, be compassionate. Really use your intuition. This Mars in Scorpio is so powerful here because it knows the perfect spot to hit every time. So if you're really connected with your soul and your ego and your soul are communicating and you're listening to this higher aspect of yourself, I think that, again, this is such a amazing time for listening to that, taking it all in, and then sort of by the end of the week and coming into next week, like, all right, without just jumping head first into some radical, belief. But it is radical times, and Saturn, Uranus is showing us how radical these times are. And like I mentioned with the Helio, Mars is activating radical times. So, hey, let's go at this week with a lot of hope, a lot of gratitude for where we are, a lot of gratitude for what we can bring to manifest, and even gratitude for this great free will choice. I mean, that came up strong, and I never talk really about free will, and even when I do talk about it with people in my life, I'm usually like, free will. But you know what? The guides just came through and were like, yo, free will is the truth, believe it or not. And I'm like, okay. So exercising your decisions of free will for yourself is so important. Every decision that we make and we have made this whole year, it's starting to show us why. And we don't want to get too confused beginning of the week, or too lost, or too spacey, or out there, or feeling like, very anxious. But maybe that's a big thing too, is I guess in some ways you could be feeling very anxious right now, because maybe you're like, wow, did I make the right choice? It's a possibility, but again, it comes back to this great transformation of our self-worth that Venus and Pluto are on, and having a deep level of compassion through the transformation. If you have to go through some sort of anxious times this week to reevaluate and come back to your truth, and to come back to decisions that you can still make and use your free will properly for your best benefit in life, please do so. That's most of the transits we do. We're going to see a first quarter square between the sun and the moon, square Neptune. Looks like that'll be on the 11th on Saturday. I think it'll be on Friday, actually, the 10th. So that's a big one. It's going to be with Neptune. And Mercury is going to be sextile Jupiter. So it could be a very confusing time. The universe can be trying to show us so much, and can be trying to like literally show us the whole universe and every, aspect of decisions that we could make or choices in this free will reality that's really for this, place that you're at as a vibrational currency frequency. Currency big. I'm sorry. Like maybe that's just why that came out too. Pay attention to money. People hate money. They don't, but just Venus, Pluto, all month, money. It's going to be weird. Stock market, crypto market. There's no certainty in any market out there. So I'm not going to say go put your money into one or the other, but, spread things out a little bit. That's what they say in investing, is diversify, so that if, one thing happens to do well and something else goes down, you're balanced out. But yeah, back to self-worth, like getting that locked down in the frequency that you want to be on. And then I think even having Mercury sextile Jupiter, like that could definitely expand a lot of opportunities for us and actually give us some clarity. But it's about, again, your experiment of life right now and of your future and what that abundance can look like. And coming back to really like this individuated path, not the normal route. Like, I'm sorry, whatever normal is being projected as right now, this week, what we've been living through, no. Don't fall for like, we'll go back to normal, or whatever the projection of normal is not the way to go. That is not Aquarius. Aquarius does not want to go back into Normalville. I can tell you that as an Aquarius moon. You might dabble in Normalville for a little bit, but you'll get bored. And you'll want to get back in the spaceship and go to something exciting, something that you can tweak and fix and see if it's fully connected. And then you might get bored there too. And then you're going to peace out to the next, the next planet. We only get to live on this planet, in this physical existence. And this week's very dreamy. I think, aside from all the deception that is going on in the world, we can get a lot of intuitive hits, a lot of signs that the universe is trying to have us make really, beneficial choices for ourselves. But it's hard to make these choices right now. And it could seem like so many options are out there, or it could seem like so few of options. So it's having the faith that there's a ton of options, that the one you feel most guided towards is the right option for right now for you, and believing that. And then if you feel like where are my options at? Well, you have to have faith that options are going to show up and routes are going to show up for you too. So it goes both ways, and trying to stay positive and uplifting and compassionate and loving and creative, and not locked down. Like, we're in Sag season. Like, we want more. But too much will make you sick. I learned that from my terrible eating habits. I don't have like a filter, so I can just eat until I'm sick. And we don't want to do that right now. We do want to, tone it down just a little bit. Make good decisions. And there's a lot of benefit. And I think that you'll find that there's so much gratitude and compassion in that space to be in right now. I haven't grabbed a tarot deck yet. I haven't used this deck in a while, but I don't know. I was like, grab me. I'm sending you all my best, all my love and best, as always. And we'll see. It's a very, 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 very interesting reality that we live in, and it's getting very shaken up, like a Bond movie, shaken, not stirred. Stirred would be a little boring and not edgy enough, and Bond's a little edgy, so there is edge out there. Mars in Scorpio, we got Aquarius energy, we got a lot of tense aspects going on there, so there's something about edge too. Like, bring your unique edge, whatever it is, into whatever chapter you're trying to go on, whatever the journey is, and that's your edge, and that there's a reason you have that edge. And I think this is a time where we could all use that edge. We could all, benefit from that. So whatever is unique to you that gives you your flair, that might be something to pay attention to on whatever the opportunities are. Do you get to express your edge and your passionate self and, your unique self? I don't know. These things just... Hopefully someone needs to hear it, or else I'm just crazy. Hopefully we don't think we're too crazy this week. All right. Six of Cups. I cannot get away from this card. Six of Cups. I pull it all the time in the dailies. I mean, there's beautiful opportunities out there. I think, we can be... maybe this week a lot of stuff from the past shows up. A lot of stuff from the past shows up that, we're having to confront. This was a South Node eclipse. We can be bringing up a lot of stories from the past to make us use our free will to make choices to go into a new story instead of an old one. Whatever that may be in our life. And maybe it brings a lot of nostalgia, and that's part of the illusion. But I like the Six of Cups because I think we can also... There's a lot of good little tidbits that we might be feeling into from the past, or we might see an old picture, an old person might show up, and you know what? They might just have the medicine that we're looking for. So we got that because of the Knight of Swords. Woo! Well, it's interesting getting that because I'm looking at the astrology and saying, it's probably not time to just move super swift and quick for just anything. But at the same time, there's something about if your soul knows, it knows. And if you're pretty clear on that and your connection right now and what that means, maybe you should make quick action for it, So I guess that's, again, coming back to your own free will and paying attention to what you're trying to save the day for. And if it is really, moving you in a smart direction or not. Or is it going backwards into Six of Cups land? Or is it using what you've learned from the past to penetrate fast and quick into what you understand is the best way forward now? And the final is the Lover's Reverse. Yeah, not surprised to get that card. And think we have to really redefine and reevaluate and really get to the root of love and what that means to us in terms of how we feel about ourselves. Do we love ourselves enough, and do we feel secure and comfortable enough within ourselves this week to not give up on ourselves, to not quit, to be very, have a high level of integrity in that inner space. I almost look at this like I'm channeling this Lover's Reverse card as this is really important times to go inwardly and love yourself instead of focusing on loving another thing or another person in our lives. Love yourself. That's most important. And if you have that backing and your connection's good, there might be some really positive doors that are opening up, and they're saying take quick action for, but there's also something about really paying attention to the choices we make, and are they being made out of a high level of love and integrity for ourselves or not. So, sending you all my best. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you for the dailies where we'll get more technical, a little bit more technical. Pull up the charts. And, check out the tarot too. Sending you all my best. Much love. Peace.